Hello and welcome to Leagues Behind, the official league design vodcast of the Arena Gauntlet League. My name is Dr. Christopher C. York. I'm a philosopher at Langara College. My specialty is the philosophy of sport and games, and my hobby, my passion, is to design tournaments for Arena that people enjoy participating in. Today, we're discussing M21 League and other adjacent topics, and my very special guest is none other than Amir Hassan, the sole proprietor of the legendary Toy Snowman business here in Canada, and a league veteran not only from the days of paper leagues at Face to Face and the early Arena Gauntlet League, including M21, but also going all the way back to the days of Battlezone in Dubai. So we have a lot to talk about with Amir. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me on the show.
Glad you could be here. So first and foremost, let's talk about where you come from in terms of your first league experience. Let's get you onboarded. We first met in Dubai like over a decade ago, right?
Yeah, that's true. I'm just trying to remember what was our first league. Uh, was it that with the one with Garuk M15?
It was M15. That's right. That's when I first popped up at Battlezone, and that was a glorious league. It was a great community you had going there.
That was an amazing league. We had a very good start because like just the themes of all the sets following that were very good for league, and it kind of like like railroaded us to like doing a lot of mechanics that we liked. So like Garuk was just so the storyline for that was that Garuk was just going hunting for other planeswalkers. And so we all kind of like manifested that in our league where we were just hunting each other as in Magic you're planeswalkers. So in this thing we are Garuk hunting each other or planeswalkers hunting other planeswalkers. So people took that role play very well, I think, for the first league.
Oh, they took it and they ran with it. I think that's where the idea of hunting the week came from. Actually, was that
Yeah.
very first M15 league at Battlezone. And since that was a core set, it's very apropos that we have you back to
It was
discuss
not a battle
M21.
zone. We
No?
were playing we were playing in the supermarket, park and shop.
Oh yeah, but I mean that was pre-Battlezone. That's right. This
No,
is like
that's before we opened the store.
this is as OG
This was
Magic as you can get. People are playing their league games on the sidewalk
the
outside
street
without
in Baskin
sleeves.
Robbins.
Yes, I remember that now. Outside the Baskin Robbins. Oh my God, that brings a tear to my eye. That was glorious. People having no regard for their card, the integrity of their cards. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only time. I mean, people talk about like the early days of Magic in the '90s. People playing without sleeves on the street. That was the first time I actually saw it happening.
Played on the street.
Playing right on the street outside of Baskin Robbins. So it wasn't called Battlezone
So
back then. What was it called? What was the first? What was the first
it was
iteration?
so we were renting a space within a supermarket. It was like a large supermarket,
I
and
remember.
so we just sold products out there, and we put up, those wooden, those not wooden, but those plastic tables temporarily, just to fit in players, play within, and they were very cool with it because we were generating a lot of revenue, and they didn't really. We were self-organizing, so it didn't matter to them, and most of their customers were coming there anyway, so it was perfectly fine. The reason why we were playing in the street, by the way, is because the supermarket would close at like 8 or 9, I can remember.
But League never
And
closes.
people were like, yeah, the league is always happening. You're in the middle of a battle. The shop's closing. You're playing outside. You want to finish that round.
And at that time, so it was you and Olivier, right? Sort of running the
Yeah.
tournaments, basically. So League was League was like you were already parasitic on a grocery store, and League was parasitic on your weird kind of card shop at the back of a grocery store. That's as humble as a beginning as you can
Yeah, it
possibly
was.
get.
We started very small. Let's say that much.
You had
But
a good group
no,
there
that was
though. I mean, it was
great.
a pretty big group, as I recall. You had like 30, 40
Yeah, it
people on the
grew
regular.
really quickly. It grew very quick, right? Yeah, it was just very. It was almost. It's just crazy to think how it just like happened over a summer. I remember because like Oliver. No, I mean Magic in general in Dubai happened all over one summer. Like I remember Oliver. We at the time we were selling a lot of Warhammer at the parking shop. Like that was the main like bread and butter. But we also brought like a few booster boxes of Magic products to sell.
Right.
And Oliver was he just got married and he wanted to go on his honeymoon. So he's like, Amir, just run the events and we also scheduled some pre-releases for Magic and whatever. If you want, you can just like organize it.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sure. So I called everybody who I knew, my cousin, and some of the other kids who knew how to play, and we did a pre-release and I showed them all how to play, and then every week after that they were drafting, and then we slowly introduced the whole crowd into constructed. It's a very different experience that I think a lot of people like nowadays. You tell a store like start playing Magic, the player base like already knows
Right.
how to draft or how to play sealed, or they already know constructed. But back then, you were teaching people from zero, like, this is what a draft is. Let me explain it, and then it's like, oh, this is really cool. And then there's something called constructed, and you have to explain everybody, and then the different formats and everything. So like we had zero, modern and type 2 and legacy cards. We were all just standard players at the time.
I remember I was just.
And League came at a good time because
Sorry, go on.
no, I'm saying League came also at a good time because a lot of people didn't also have like constructed decks, or they only had like last two sets to make a deck, right? Because there was no old card pool. Nobody had legacy cards. Nobody had cards from 10 years ago. Everybody had, but that our shop had at the time. So everybody was in the same playing field where, you know, Origins. Like the origins of Magic starts at N15. There was nothing. There was nothing before that.
So
kind of,
I came there at a good time,
history
then,
work.
as it turns out, because I was looking for something.
Yeah,
I was coming from Saudi Arabia, where Magic cards are basically witchcraft and illegal, right? So I was just happy to play some cards again. But the way that I got started in Dubai, the way that I found you guys, was I started playing with a group of people at like a Starbucks, and a guy who I forget the name of him, who perhaps should not be named. He was providing the boosters, and we were doing like sealed and draft stuff out of a Starbucks, which was fine for what it was. But then somebody in the group discovered that perhaps the boosters had been, the choice rares had been taken out, and boosters had been resealed with very poor quality glue. And so that group fell apart because of that sort of scandal. And then we went looking for a different place to play, and we found you guys. My ex-wife played at the time, and we wanted to find you guys after that. And I guess we made fast friends and never looked back to the Starbucks days.
Yeah.
So it was a match made in heaven. I was really happy to see you guys prosper so quickly too. And so Battlezone was a whole different thing. That was in a real store that was pretty big and well organized for what it was and how quickly it was all set up, and lots of community support for that. And you were a big part of that, right? You were you were sort of a big cog in that machine, I would say.
Yeah, so I mean, like I was the, I guess, community manager for the store, just because like I've been known to be just because I'm kind of the guy in between worlds where because of my origins, where my dad's Iraqi and so I know like the locals very well, but at the same time I was raised in Canada, so I can communicate with the foreigners, and at the same time my mom's Filipino, so she's from like the lower class back in Dubai. So it's like, okay, I have the three worlds merged into me, where I can communicate with the locals, I can talk for the lower class, and then I can also talk for the foreigners. So it's like, okay, everybody can communicate with me, and it became easy to TO because I was a friendly face for everybody, and
Yeah.
everybody saw a bit of themselves within me.
Is that a metaphor? A euphemism?
Yeah. What youth? None of us are youthful anymore, Chris.
Yeah, so I mean, from there, right? So I guess before we get to M20, let's go through our little history, our little plotted history. Once we get to Battlezone, we get into Cons League, which was a whole different thing. You were a con, Amir. I
Yeah,
believe.
so we did. So like I said, the whole magic was like railroading us. Where it's like, okay, the next one's cons. We're like, you know what? Let's put a spin to it. Let's make 5 teams, and each team will have a con to uh to lead their team into victory.
And
And so
do you
with
remember the
that,
mechanic for that league? Not just factions, but do you remember like the mechanic?
yeah. So every week there would be a special mission for the cons of that league, of their faction, to do some random like mission that you I don't. It was always a surprise, but it was like, the cons must face each other. Minimum of one of their battles needs to be have a con battle or something, or a con must go undefeated or something bizarre, right?
And I think
I also
that
specifically remembering we had uh the cons were also able to be deconned by their own uh within their own tribe. The con was always the best player of their tribe or the best record.
yeah, and you could challenge your con to take over your clan if you wanted to. And what I
Yeah,
remember,
it was never recommended.
no,
The only the only one that did it was funny enough was the Mardu, who were like just, oh, you're not strong enough to be the Khan, just fight with each other.
you know,
But
we
on
recently
theme,
we recently had a cons league online, and it really didn't hold a candle to that original in person. We had I think 40 or 50 players in that tournament, a physical
oh yeah,
tournament. It was massive for a physical tournament, and just a lot of fun. Just a lot of
for a second league.
yeah, second league. Everyone's getting crazy with it. Everyone's like, "You go team, go!" And what I remember the mechanic was for
Yeah.
that, which might be controversial now, we would hand the cons booty to distribute amongst their clans, like promo cards or like a pack they could
Oh
distribute
yes,
amongst their tribe or whatever. So it was like,
yes, the Khans would be able to. We'd give promos out to each Khan, and the Khan would decide how to best to give them out.
which
So like, if the Khan didn't think you were very, you were long for this world, he would give you nothing.
that's right.
It's
So
like,
whereas
oh, you're a good general. You could have 4 promos. Like,
yeah, it was really I mean wildly unfair, but also wildly fun and flavorful.
yes, because a lot of players also like played up to it. Like, uh,
Oh, they leaned into it hard.
I know, like, yeah, everyone leaned into it. Like, I know for me, I was like the Sultai one, so I gave only the top 4 or top 5 best players the promos,
Yeah, we
and
let the
I think
cons we
like,
let the cons run their own business. So if you wanted to have like that kind of
yeah, yeah.
culture in your clan, go for it. Carte blanche.
I mean, to be fair, I was Sultai, so it's in my theme and nature to try and stay in power and keep my usurpers allied with me.
I mean, some people would look at that and say, I wouldn't want to play in that kind of tournament. But everybody really had like a lot of generosity of spirit with it, and just got into the. They just had fun, and gosh,
Yeah, of course. Because I mean, we did the M15 league where it was like literally Garuk killing planeswalkers. So it would just be like everybody's like scared to be killed by the next player.
yeah,
So now this next league we were like kind of like a community where it's like, okay, we know who are the good players because they were the people who like slaughtered everybody in the previous league. So now we know these guys are like kind of like the cons, because that's how we chose our cons in the beginning. It was the best top 5 best players of the previous league, right?
yeah,
And then we just sprinkled them. We sprinkled it all around. So then
yeah.
every um, clan should have at least one great player in it. As we're all randomized. So this way, like now, the con is like incentivized also to help every player in his clan to survive. Because there was also like a clan victory, right? If you were the last clan, you all get something.
Yeah. So I think that was a slam dunk or a home run or whatever sports metaphor you wanna give it. And then I think
It's the
that
bullseye. It's like
we had another couple of
checkmate.
we had another couple of good leagues, and then something happened. Amir, what happened after that?
I'm drawing a blank actually.
This, I mean,
I do.
the store stepped in and took over league, and they stopped eliminations from
Oh
being a
yes.
thing. So I think that the idea, I mean, look, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm looking at it from the store's point of view. What's great about league? It gets the community involved. What's bad about league? People get eliminated, and when they get eliminated, they stop buying packs. So how do we sell more packs? Let's get rid of eliminations. And so at a certain point, I think Olivier stepped in and said, thanks for your help, Chris. We'll take it from here. And then he took over the league. And then I think the league lasted maybe one or two leagues after that. But the no eliminations thing just absolutely took the air out of the tournament series and took all enthusiasm for it away. As I recall, that's what happened. You can correct me if it's been over a decade now, so I might be a bit rusty.
It's been a while.
But
yes, I do remember Oliver taking control of it. I don't recall the reasoning why.
Yeah, me neither.
What I think there was there was a few complaints because some of the players did not like the weekly surprises, for example. If you think in your hide, there was a few players that complained quite often.
It's Magic. You expect that, right? I mean,
yeah, but
look, show me a Magic community
some players,
where nobody complains.
But I'm saying that there were some players that were overly complaining, and for some reason they had the ears of the owner.
Right.
And so that's what has happened, unfortunately. That did this. That did disassemble the I was not interested after that. Like I was also I enjoyed hunting the week, or oh, you're the strongest person in that team. I'm gonna challenge you. That was always a fun thing to do. Throw down the chicken leg, as we say.
So that was the
a saying. We did say that quite often, right? We did say let's throw down the chicken leg or whatever.
So I mean, yeah, but that was basically the end of the Dubai experience. After that, I went back to Canada. I went to Montreal, and I set up the next iteration of the league because it basically had stopped running at Battlezone when I left, and I started up pretty much immediately when I landed in Quebec. I went to first of all, here's something you might not know. I tried to set it up at the place across the street because I thought that face-to-face was too big to be interested in League. So I first pitched it across the street to, Gamekeeper. And he was interested, but I also saw the kind of shop that he ran, and it was one or two of those fold-out tables you're talking about, and a toilet, and it looked like a hoarder's. not to crowd.
So there's a theme here, Chris. You always start with the shady owner, and then you move up to the bigger place.
Well, I think too, he was happy for me to do absolutely everything, and he wouldn't even promo the league in his on his website or anything. It seemed like it was going to be more work than it was worth. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for a free deal. So I'm like, you know what? I'm getting some pushback here. This isn't happening as quickly as I'd like. And all sorts of Moreau had these, reservations. So I went across the street, which wasn't a very long walk, and Face to Face was delighted to start it up. They had a much cleaner, bigger, better shop. Obviously, international reputation, and from there it took off. But you hadn't made the jump yet from Dubai to Canada, so
I have not made landfall yet.
We should talk. Yeah, landfall, Amir. So we should talk maybe more about your big jump and over to Face to Face, because that's where you ended up too, right?
Yeah. So after a few years of running Battlezone, I've reached my peak. I think for working there, and it's kind of I reached my ceiling. So I decided hey, I want to move back to Canada. And at the time, I didn't have anything in Canada, no family or friends, because Facebook didn't exist when I was last in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So I was okay, I'll just see if anybody I know is still in Canada. Chris said, yeah, you can try Face to Face. He said, I said, okay, that's cool. Maybe I will. And so when I left Dubai, I only had 2 suitcases in my backpack, and that was one backpack was full of Magic, and that was my back of my head. I was this will be what feeds me for the first month. I will somehow sell some of these cards to make a living.
Right.
So And so I landed in Toronto.
This is a story you're going to tell your
So
children, right? This is a story you're going to tell your children.
yeah, so yeah, I landed in Toronto, looked around. I'm like, this place is not for me. Rent is like $1 million. It smells, and if I do minimum wage here, I can live with like 9 people in a single studio apartment or something like that. So
Just say
I
the
looked
prospects
at
were
rent
limited.
costs.
The prospects were limited.
Yeah, so I look at and I did a little Google. I saw like, oh, rent's cheap in Montreal, and I look at minimum wage. I'm like, okay, it's almost the same as here in Toronto, maybe like a $2 off, but at least you're paying 4 times less rent. So I was like, okay, here's the bus near my hotel. Just take it and go. The bus threw me somewhere.
And it was a good move.
Near
It was a
some
good. It paid off for
yeah,
you.
it was great, and I went in there. So I was like, okay, this is great. Went to the hotel, paid them 2 weeks of rent for the hotel, and I said, okay, I'm gonna start looking for places and jobs to do.
This was the Hilton,
And
right?
you recommended face to face.
You went to the Hilton downtown, right?
No, I went to I can't remember, some 2-star house that was owned by an Asian guy, and
So you went to face, backpack.
I went to face to face, and I met the operations manager at the time. There was Peter, and they were filled, like they didn't have a job position. I was like, oh, okay, because I told them like, here's my background and everything. They're like, oh, that's really cool, but we just don't have a job right now for you.
But
I was like, okay.
But you know how it is, right? You know that eventually someone's going to get dinged and there's going to be an opening, right? It's Game of Thrones
So,
It's Game of Thrones over there, right? It's Game of Thrones.
Oh, I mean, I didn't know at the time, so I was like, okay, I was like kind of defeated, like, oh, okay, well, that's a shame. I still went there to like sell magic cards in order to like buy lunch and groceries and dinner. Like, okay, here's some cards I accumulated over the few years. Just give me $500, and every 2 days I'd go there and sell some cards to fund myself. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna apply for the army. That was my. I don't know if I ever told you I was gonna apply for to be a pilot, and I filled all the paperwork. And the day of the exam, I was 5 minutes late and they wouldn't let me in. And then 2 minutes later, I'm like, oh, after all that, and then it's like, okay, come back in like 3 months or something. And I was like, oh my god, I have a very limited amount of magic cards to sell. I can't just keep waiting, and I wanted to eventually pay rent long term rather than keep renting out of a hotel. But then 5 minutes later, Peter calls me like a week later and says, "Hey, we actually have an opening now." And I was like, "Okay, well, I guess my fate is decided. I'll just go here work at Face," and that's how I ended up working at Face,
And the rest is history.
more or less.
Yeah. So I guess we won't get into all of the face-to-face tournaments because that's a whole different chapter that'll take us way out because there's a lot to talk about there, of course. Unless there's any like highlights you want to bring up that come to mind.
And like, I mean, for league wise,
Yeah,
I remember we had league wise. I remember winning a couple of paper leagues, and I remember specifically the hour of so I'm a big fan of Nicol Bolas.
Oh,
and
yes.
I was determined. I was really determined to win the Hour of Devastation League.
And I remember how you did it, and it hurts me now.
And then I remember we were drafting, and one of the players, I forgot who.
Mega drafting.
What was that card? What was that card that they were mocking?
It was the one where you played one spell of one casting cost, and you had to play another spell of another casting cost. And it kept going up by one, and everyone's like, that card's ridiculous, we'll never get to use that card.
Yeah, wait, what? I need to know that card. The audience must know.
Google it, Google
of the
it.
card that was mocked. Spoilers, I guess?
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, we can edit this part. We can edit this.
No, we can't. This is all staying in. This is all staying in.
Oh, this is all live?
This is all staying in.
I definitely need. We gotta keep the intro. The first real intro. The tilted intro. Oh, Imminent Doom.
Imminent Doom.
Right. So for those who don't know, Imminent Doom, 2 and 1 red, enchantment. Imminent Doom enters the battlefield with a Doom counter on it. Whenever you cast a spell with converted mana cost equal to the number of Doom counters on Imminent Doom deals damage to target creature or player. Then put a Doom counter on Imminent Doom. Some guy said talked about how terrible this card was,
Yeah.
and I took it as a personal challenge.
Yep, you did.
So I built my whole deck around this, and it was amazing.
And you won the Mega Draft with it, I think, if I recall correctly.
And I won the Mega Draft with it. I remember hitting a guy for 7 and then for 8. Like to the face. Like,
It was-
oh,
it
you're at
was-
15. Okay, he's just.
It was gross. It was gross and silly, and it should never have happened. Under any other circumstances, it never would have happened. But yeah, league be like that, I think, as the kids say. But yeah, so we did some physical tournaments, and then, boy oh boy, COVID happened, and we move online. And like I said in the Johnny interview last week, you're the first guy who really seriously encouraged me to take everything onto Discord, right? And so you had
Yeah.
you suggested strongly that this is the way of the future. I initially resisted, and then I'm like, okay, I'm all in. But I'm doing it my way. I'm like Frank Sinatra, do it my way. But yeah, I mean, you were part of that movement to move things online. I think that maybe by this time you had drifted across town yet again. Were you working?
Yeah. So I was already working on my own shop at the time,
Yeah.
but so right now I run a toy store at toysnowman.com.
Yes.
We sell toys,
Yeah.
Warhammer, and we do sell some sealed. Shameless plug. I'm gonna shamelessly.
Yeah,
plug.
go for it. Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
And we do sell. Yeah, so shameless plug. We sell toys, so Marvel, whatever, Star Wars, and then we do sell Warhammer, and we also sell some sealed products of Magic. So we do carry a few TCGs. We don't do singles because I don't. I've done 20 years of Magic singles and whatnot, so I'm willing to carry the sealed product, but not more beyond that.
And a former
So I already started
former
that
league
business.
sponsor, used to give out coupons
Oh, yeah.
to league players.
No, I gave
10 or
and I gave
20%,
out the
right?
Nicol Bolas plushie.
Oh, there was a Nicol Bolas plushie as well.
Yeah, and
yes.
yes, that was the coveted Nicol Bolas plushie.
Who did that go to in the end?
And I gave Maxime won one, and I don't know who won the other one.
Epic stuff.
Yeah, that was what I was sponsoring. Yeah, so at the time, but I was also helping Three Kings Loot,
Yes.
and I made the introductions and saying, hey, I know Chris, and obviously I have 2 continents worth of experience with Chris,
Right.
so I can vouch for him that he'll run it nicely, and it is, and I did, and as a former store manager, I also know the benefits.
Players will
League.
you told him players will complain, but most expect that. But generally speaking, he runs a good shop. So
The saying for Magic players is, you can put $100 bill in the booster pack and they'll complain how you folded it.
that's what they say. But this was this league M21, right? So it's our second league online. And by the way, I want to correct last week's statement. This was the league. M21 was the smallest league online with only 21 players. Before that, the league that I won, Ikoria, had 30 players. So officially, I just want to set the record straight. My league win,
You're not the smallest league?
my league win, 1/3 more impressive than Johnny's league win because Johnny won M21.
Oh, okay.
So I just wanted to set the record straight. Let it be known. You heard it here first. So we're online on Discord. This is our first real tournament, but also our smallest. You're one of the few surviving members from this this clan of people that are online here who actually was a player in M21. How did you feel that we managed the transition from paper to electronic tournaments?
So, now this is just talking for the transition, because I'm also the guy who was when League. So I really love the format League. I think it is my favorite format, believe it or not, because I feel like it is the most You know when we make fun like the way Richard Garfield intended?
Right.
I really feel League is the closest thing you can get to it, right? Because it's like, it's everybody. You're all experiencing things like kind of like a new player, right? You slowly build up a deck, right? Or nowadays, it's information is readily available. You as soon as a set comes out, the more expensive card, the cheapest card, what's good and constructed, what's not good and constructed, all the information is out,
Yeah.
and it's really taking out like it's very hard to make the deck that's the best deck in the format now because so much information is calculated and it just repeatedly played. Like God knows with AI now, it's
Yeah.
gonna like make the best deck you
Sure.
can and play it against yourself 1,000 times and then it'll tell you what's the best deck you can make in the format, right?
But I agree with you.
So
League is. I also think it's like Garfield intended. It's like you have a sense of discovery every tournament, and it's not only you're
yeah, and
discovering
you're
your
like, oh,
deck.
this card's so good.
There's parallel discovery. So you're having your own little journey as you develop your deck. Meanwhile, your competitors are also evolving in secret, and when you encounter them, they've been like opening up new stuff too, and you're like, oh man, I played you in week 2, and your deck was a pile of crap. Now you've got this finely tuned machine, and so like I think there's community discovery, there's self discovery, there's strategic opportunities that aren't really present in other formats that get solved, and so yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, it makes opening a booster so much fun. Like this one booster will change so much, and it's like you don't really get that now. Like where like one booster just matters so much, but when you're playing constructed or other things like oh whatever, I'm opening a booster pack. Maybe one card.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll get this rare and I'll be done. It's like it's not as fun as
Yeah,
when this
but
league where you're gonna use 10 of those cards maybe.
I mean, you bust a booster, and so what? You put the cards away, and it's done. And even if you draft, like here's what stores like. Stores like it when you buy cards for draft or a sealed event. You stay for a couple hours, and then those cards are disassembled, put into boxes, and then they sell you more cards to play with, right? League is a way to make those cards matter for a month or two, while at the same time, kind of like slowly, like there's a little drip of new cards coming in, so you still have that like dopamine rush, but you're building something, right? So I can see why maybe stores
And
might.
your card pool is smaller, right?
Uh,
Your card pool is smaller because when you like now if I throw you in to like build a constructed deck, you have all the cards in construct. You have whatever 400 cards to build a deck out of, and you're probably just gonna build whatever the online deck tells you to build, right? That's the best.
yeah,
When you're playing League, it's like okay, you have this like it's like semi-constructed. Like you're gonna add a lot of cards eventually, but your starting pool is so small, and you think like oh you know what, I have this one card. I'm gonna build up my whole deck around it, and I'm gonna start opening packs for this one card because I really want to make it work.
yeah,
Right.
and the customizability is there for that to happen, right? Which is exciting. And sometimes because of the opens that you make, you're forced to play outside of your comfort zone. Like if you don't like a certain color combination, but you open a pool that's like pushing you there, guess what? You're playing that color combination. You're gonna. I think overall it's gonna lead you to be a better Magic player than you would have otherwise been if you just like played constructed formats, stayed in your comfort zone, etc., etc. But so anyway, I agree with you about the format, but you were going somewhere with that.
Oh, completely blank.
We're gonna the transition to online tournaments. I think was what we were talking about. So for this tournament,
So
I'll
our transition to
yeah. Sorry, go on.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So like I was just gonna bump your memory a little bit because looking at the rule set here for M21, right? I'm reading the technical details and it says here, League sealed pools will be generated on mtgen.net on live stream. So this is how we make our pools for Sealed League online at this time. I don't think I've been to mtgen.net since Core Set 21. Like I don't know what they're doing these days, but thank you for helping us out, at that point. I don't know why we thought it was better than Draft Sim or whatever at the time. Maybe it just took better screenshots.
I think we just didn't know.
Yeah. So we just had to take screenshots, right? And then you had to sort of like register your deck old school, card by card, based on the screenshot.
Yeah.
Which is, like I say, it's wild what we did to try to have fun online during COVID.
Okay, so to be fair, when I was suggesting Discord, I've used Discord a few times, and it was mainly like to organize your online clans and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I was never like a pro Discord guy.
Right.
I didn't own shares in it. I just
Right. Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I see, I know Discord is good for organizing things, like, and then you can organize a lot of players and gamers specifically. So it just felt like it just made sense that Magic, like, if we were going to do an arena thing, it would have to come with Discord because Discord is meant for gamers to organize themselves.
Right.
And, you can have giant clans on Discord, and somehow it's supposed to be more organized, right? So I knew there was, like, bots, but I didn't know how well the bots can go. And, like, I knew you can have different rooms, and you can
Yeah.
make two players chat with each other in their own private room, kind of thing.
And
So I
that,
was
and
like,
now and now you can see, right?
This just had made sense.
You can see all the everything that was possible then, but is possible now. Like you can see how the servers kind of built up over time, right?
Yeah. So it's like obviously now it's way beyond my knowledge of how it runs. Where I'm like, okay, well now there's bots and they answer things and like all this fancy work,
The
which is like it's great, right?
The student has become the master.
I knew it would be there. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, the bot stuff. That's
To be
all.
fair,
That,
to be fair, when I first introduced you, you were the caveman that was like, oh man, like I can change the name of the room.
no, man, Amir.
Discovering things.
Credit where credit's due, Amir. I was just like, I was like, caveman analogy. I was like, I don't know if this fire thing's gonna work out, man. It seems scary.
We really have Messenger,
It's scary, but it burns.
Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, yeah.
We have Facebook. Like, what's the difference between this and Facebook Messenger? Yeah?
Yeah. So
I
look.
already have. Everybody has friends.
Admittedly, I can be stubborn. You helped me overcome my stubbornness, and I want to thank you for that. So,
I think once I gave you the demo, it was all right.
oh yeah, it was fine after that. I saw what it could do, and I got excited. And so here we are online, the smallest tournament that we've ever had of all time. This is where the candle could have gone out, right? This is where, like, we could have been discouraged by this and said, you know what? 21 players, and by this time, Face to Face, by the way, is still sponsoring the tournament. We're still getting. They went down from $200 for Ikoria League of store credit to kind of keep us alive. Now they're starting to turn off the tap. So now we're down to 100 in the prize table, and Three Kings Loot, for what it's worth, they're still giving us promo packs to keep the pulse happening. So we're still playing for relatively okay prizes, but you might see like. If we didn't have the history of Battlezone and a face to face behind us, we might have just said, yeah, 21 players, let's pack it up. And to be fair, like the rule set's not that much different than Ikoria. It's another vanilla set. Like we add 6 packs of M21 to start the tournament, and then just everything that's legal on Arena from Ixalan to Core Set 21 you can add for your punishment packs, and. Yeah, so there's not really much more to say other than, we are still doing the standard vanilla tournaments until the flavor catches on, because until the community grows, there's no reason to put on a bunch of flashy tournaments with unique mechanics, because we're still making that transition to the online tournament series. So there's some growing pains, and I'd say that people like you. Obviously very instrumental in not only helping us stay alive via making the sponsorship possible with Three Kings Loot to throw out those very valuable promo packs, but also to sort of just carry over the good-natured spirit that we had going from all of our in-person play, right, and sort of carry it forward online. So you're part of that story, right, of sort of carrying the torch to the next venue.
I was also a part of the rules committee at the time, I think.
Do we have a rules committee at that time? I don't know if we had an official league committee at that time. We did in the store, right?
Yeah, we definitely had it in the store. So I think it made sense that we had it in the store, and then we'd also have. I don't know. I'm pretty sure had it in the store and online, or at least we had it online. We had it in the store, and then it dissipated to online.
Yeah, exactly. So we had to start again. That was part of Johnny's complaint, was that there was sort of like some parallel growth going on. So his like in-person playtest group, which was going without me while I was up north in Quebec in Chisasibi, they were developing the rule set, whereas I was up there playing no Magic, right? And when I came back online, like his live group kind of just faded out because of COVID, and I'm back online. I'm just like, hey, guess what? Same rule set. Let's go. So. So there's a bit of like a duplication of service that's going on there without our knowledge. So I don't know. We were in shambles at the time. We didn't have an official committee at the time. I think there were people who wanted to play together and didn't have the venue to do it quite yet. And so we were kind of like filling that niche. Yeah, it was largely aspirational, I think, still at this phase.
Yeah, but I mean, Magic players are gonna. When there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. M21 is a set. What was it like to League? I don't know. Johnny won this one, so I don't expect you to have any big memories. Johnny had a memory of his double Garuk deck sweeping the field, and I also remember that pretty. I've got bad memories about that. I've got flashbacks. What was your deck like? Do you remember? Do you even remember?
Insignificant. I was also like very in and out, because at the time my business was really taking off.
Yeah.
So I really couldn't focus fully on the league at the time either.
Yeah. Which brings me to my next question for you as my guest. Since League's your favorite way to play Magic, why don't we see you back on here, Amir? What happened to you? Your membership has lapsed. I don't think you've played anything in like the last year. Any of our tournaments on here
for forever. I haven't played Magic in a while.
Let me tell you then.
Like,
I've got some news for you, man. Modern Horizons 3.
Okay.
Any player who's been not played any tournaments for the entire 2023-2024 season, which you have not, if you register for MH3, you are guaranteed to get your money back in-store credit from our sponsor, from our partner store, Magic Stronghold Games. So this could be the time for you to make your big comeback in time for MH3 because you get free entry.
Oh, snappers. What is entry right now?
It's $10. It's still $10.
Oh, so all right.
So you put in $10.
$5 at one point, I think.
You put in okay.
Inflation.
Well, okay, Grandpa.
Back in my day. Actually, back in my day, it cost a lot more to enter league because you had to pay like for the boosters. Right?
Oh God, yeah. I think our most expensive league was something like Ultimate Masters or something. It was like $100 for like the sealed pool. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. I was like, I'm glad to get to play with you. Play with these for
lose. I remember people did not want to lose because they didn't want to buy a pack because it's too expensive. They're like, it's better to open like a master set than like a typical standard set. So,
exactly.
Like
so every time you lose at league, you got $20 on the table, right? Because you got to buy one of those expensive packs. So yeah, that was pretty punishing. But yeah, so it's $10. Basically, you put $10 in at the beginning and you get $10 back at the end. If you're a lapsed player like yourself.
I did remember my issue was I also did not have enough commons, rares, mythics to create my decks on Arena.
Yeah.
That was my issue, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and just play like standard or whatever and try to build up the wild cards, I guess is what it's called, right?
Yeah.
And I just like never got there, and that's probably a big part of the reason why I was not ever able to continue playing the online league, because like I just never played online.
Yeah.
Like Arena at all, and at the same time, me just being busy.
We actually have people now who have they've got their accounts that loan out now for new players or players who are There's like floating accounts now for people who like yourself who are wildcard impaired. So rejoice.
Impaired? No, I will. Yeah, I you know what? I will probably play this league. When does it start?
Registration will kick off, I believe, in the next week and a half. But I'll ping you.
All right, ping me. Send me a text, probably better, because I'm not always on Discord.
Okay. You are now. Well, fair enough. Yeah, this is like Discord's like a disease that you've introduced into my life, and now.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm happy to play this league, and you'll see why Chris was so intimidated when I first entered.
Well, it's always good. You know, if we can bring you back into the fold, you'd be most welcome. But
Oh,
look,
I
we're
remember a mechanic.
oh
It was a hunting mechanic where you would put a bounty on people randomly, or I'm not sure it was random, but you would have a bounty on you, and people would specifically come and challenge you, and you just felt terrible having a bounty on you because they got like extra packs or something, or you would lose 2 lives if you lost the battle.
oh God, yeah, yeah. That's what they were complaining about, I suppose, right? I mean, there are bounties now for the Outlaws of Thunder Junction League, but it's more like if you were in the top 8 or the top 16 from the previous week, you get like Thunder Bucks for beating them, which you can use to get fancier packs. Anyway, it's a whole thing. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Look, we're reaching the end of our podcast time, Amir. Are there any final notes or any observations? We didn't talk a lot about N21, but it was just an excuse to get you on here, really, to catch up, because
We just had to rug pull the audience.
So yeah, any final notes or observations that you wanted to chuck in at the end?
um, let's see. So me and Johnny have an Excel sheet with our victories and tallies in. So I will challenge Johnny every week, one game,
Oh,
and it will be added to our ever growing. Because Johnny is kind of my mortal enemy in every game we play. So we have a running tally sheet that we both update
oh, no
now
kidding. I
to
think
say our. Yes, no,
I think
really.
he's got that relationship
'Cause,
with a
it
lot
was-
of people. Like him and Richard have that relationship as well.
Oh yeah, so it's I don't know. Johnny just seems to make a lot of enemies, right?
His nickname used to be
I'll
the
be
heel, right? He
simply-
used to come in and sort of troll people and claim he was better than everybody. So I think that he's kind of attracted that energy. But now,
Him and his.
even though he's calmed down a bit, he's calmed
Robbing
he's
Wilds.
calmed down a bit. He's grown more relaxed in his trolling. But for those that know.
Those who know will know. The North never forgets.
All right, Amir. Thanks for coming on. It's been great to have you here in Leagues Behind, and we'll look forward to playing against you in Leagues Ahead.
Sure thing. I'll see you around then.
Cheers, Amir. Bye.